just had a chance to get in and watch through the film and then meet with the players, over the film. Like we said last night, it was a complete team win. In all three phases played well. But like is normally the case, even on a big win like last night, there's a lot to clean up, a lot of ways we got to get better. So we talked about those things today. We always kind of come in and take the same approach, win or lose. Win or lose, when we look at this film, we're going to be a lot of constructive criticism and figure out ways to get better. We got a long road. We talked about there's a long road to go. There's a big win, but there's a long road ahead of us. And we got to take it 1-0, 1% better every day, find ways to get better. Just injury update, Jack Doyle's still in concussion protocol. I mentioned to you last night, Kenny had the rib injury. We're still continuing to monitor him as well. So open it up to questions.
Kevin Bowen.
Frank, what has Grover Stewart meant to your defense this season?
And Grover Stewart is special. He's having a really good year. He's explosive. He came in the best shape of his life. He kind of transformed his body, made him quicker and faster. He lost a lot of weight, put on lean mass. And then Grover, in a different way, is one of the true leaders of this team. This guy, he's not always the loudest and most vocal leader, but if you talk about, in the locker room, who gets the most respect, Grover's in that top tier of guys as far as because of his humble heart, and he's a fierce competitor. He's got this humble heart, and yet he's a fierce competitor. I love guys like that. This guy's a fierce competitor. So he's having a monster year.
Mike Chappell.
The impression that the way this season's gone, it's really accentuated what you say as far as it takes 53. You've got EJ Speed, you've got Carey, you've got Hines, you get your running back by committee. In Grover, it's not the quote star guys as much as it is everybody. Is that appropriate or not?
I do think it's appropriate. We want to talk. We talk a lot about the cumulative effect. The cumulative effect, and when you take every guy on the roster, and then when you count guys on the practice squad, and the cumulative effect of who has the best team. Now, do I think we got some star power? Yeah, I think we have some star power, but it still comes down to the cumulative effect of the whole team, and all those guys that you mentioned, Chap, they all play a part of it in developing them, and their commitment to accept their role but still be hungry for more. And I think the coaches are doing a good job of keeping those guys ready and prepared, so when they get their opportunities, they're making the most of it.
Just a quick follow-up. You said this is a time to maybe be critical of some things. Offensively, does the short yardage just still gnaw at you?
Yeah, no, I don't. I do not like calling. I do not like making not making 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I don't. And even on 4th downs, I mean, like if we're going for it on 4th down, I expect 100%. I mean, so we got to coach it better. And we got to play it better. And so was not happy with getting stopped a few times. I know they were good inside. They had 2 defensive tackles who were pretty stout. But, when we're looking at them on the film, they can be both those plays can be coached better and designed better, and they can be played better. And so that is one area that we definitely have to improve on. Now, we're not going to make every one. I mean, you can just look around, it happens all the time every week, just keep, which I know we all know. So I'm realistic in that regard, but we need to make a few more than we're making.
Jim Aiello.
And Frank, yeah, that kind of leads into my question, which was why was it the right time to turn to Jacoby in a short yardage situation?
And we have a series of plays that we practice with Jacoby. Been trying to get to it. It just felt like the right time. And And then obviously he did a great job. If you guys get a chance, go back and watch that play. You want to talk about a surge in the middle. Watch Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly on that play. And as good as their 2 defensive tackles are, and I got a lot of respect for those 2 defensive tackles, just watch the surge. So Jacoby did a good job, but it really started up front with those guys up front. They moved the pile.
As far as this to follow, as far as the QB sneak, is that something that I don't even know how you would classify it. Reticent to do with Philip Rivers versus Jacoby Brissett, or how would you kind of classify that? Because obviously Jacoby's been very successful in those situations.
Yeah, no, Jacoby's been very successful. I'm not, it's not like I would never do it with Philip. But, definitely want to do it with Jacoby. And, and obviously when we bring Jacoby in there, it's not just going to be quarterback sneak. So, we got to complement that, but you got to start somewhere. So that was a good starting point. I'm hoping we can build off of that.
Phil B.
Hey, Coach, with the no huddle, it worked so well last night. You kind of wonder, gee, why don't they do it more? Or why don't they do it all the time? But there are obviously cons to that. What are the things you have to weigh when you were considering whether that works or not, and how often you do it?
Phil, I'm glad you noticed it worked well, because it worked really well last night. I mean,
It's obvious.
yeah, I mean, it really, really gave us good spark, good energy. The guys handled it really, really well. On a short week, part of that decision was that it was a short week. This is something that Philip and I talked about, that, what do you do when you have a short week? Well, that's one of the answers, is because when you go no huddle, you tend to be a little bit more base core in your play calls. You're just calling your core, because you don't have as much shifting and motioning and stuff like that. So, hey, let's just run our core plays, but let's just run them at speed. And that's the change up. So it just made sense to do. I had a lot of that experience when I was here before with Peyton, when as successful, you guys remember how successful Peyton was on Thursday nights. And that's, there were a lot of reasons for that, but that was one of them. So, but to your point, Phil, what's the danger of doing it all the time? I mean, I've been in offenses that I've played and coached in offenses where we did it for 16 games, and for most of the game in all 16 games, it can catch up to you a little bit. So I just think it has to be a tool, and you keep mixing it in. And how much or how little is, it is by design, but it's also by feel. And so that'll be a game by game decision.
Thank you.
Mike Wells.
Hey, Frank, I want to ask you, do you recall the conversation you had with Rodrigo when he beat out Chase for the kicking job? And what did you tell him? Because when he stepped in his role, obviously he's replacing the NFL's all-time leading scorer and a future Hall of Famer, and that's not easy to do.
Wasn't a big long, I don't remember the exact words, but it was not a long discussion. Rod is a unique guy, and he earned it. Just felt like he earned it, and felt like he was ready. Felt like he had, not just did he earn it the way he kicked in preseason, but I really think the way he earned it was, I think as a staff, the guys who made that decision, Chris and myself and Bubba and Frankie, and talking through that decision, because it wasn't an easy decision, because Chase did a good job as well. But a lot of it came down and it was nothing against Chase, but it was just, I think we felt like Rod had the right mental makeup for the position to be able to be good in pressure moments and to be able to overcome when you miss a kick. And I don't know, it was a gut instinct on all of our parts that he was gonna be the right guy.
And when you say the right mental makeup, what exactly is it? What goes into having the right mental makeup in this type of role?
Like confidence in yourself that even when you miss, that you're going to make the next one.
We'll go George Bremer.
Coach, we've seen some pretty high caliber runs from Naheem on receptions the last couple of years, last couple of weeks, especially down around the end zone. What makes him so dangerous in the open field?
His speed, his footwork. He works really hard at his footwork, and he does that by himself, but Coach Rathman works really hard with those guys on their footwork. And here's the other thing about Naheem is, I think Naheem is one of those guys that sits on his sofa or lays in his bed at night and thinks about and envisions himself what he's going to do in the open field. we've talked a lot about that as a team, and we try to encourage that kind of stuff. And some guys just naturally do it more than others. And my guess is Naheem is one of those guys that does that. And he envisions himself making those moves. And then like last night when he caught that touchdown pass, like watching it again on film today, like it was impressive watching it live. But, watching it on film, it just the footwork and his instincts in the route running, there were some technical things that he did in the route that I've just seen him work on time and time again that created maximum separation on the breakout. And then just his speed and acceleration to then turn the corner and score. I don't think there's a whole lot of backs that score on that route other than Naheem. And I think that 99% of that is how hard he works at it.
Stephen Holder.
Frank, two things on Michael Pittman. He had, or let me ask you this way: Did you coming into that game think that there was an opportunity to, I don't know if feature is the right word, but maybe go to him a little bit? And then secondly, can you just kind of tell us what you saw in him in terms of the open field and some of the extra yards he was able to get? I mean, he didn't look like a quote unquote possession guy running in the open field.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we did feel like coming in, Stephen, as you said, based off his last game, where he showed flashes. So we came into this game, Nick and I and Philip and Mike Rowe talking about, hey, we need to build off of this last game. Pitt showed flashes. And if we're going to go where we want to go, he's going to have to be a guy, like an important part of this cog in the wheel of what we're doing. So let's build off of this momentum. So there was a conscious effort to get the ball to him, in the way that we did. But then, as you said, when we saw this in his college tape, I remember Chris and I talking a lot about this, but this guy's fearless now. I mean, he's fearless in every way, but like when the ball in his hand, he wants to hurt somebody. And so he runs very aggressively. Like that one shallow route he caught, he turned the corner on 24 and showed speed. So we need to continue, but then he did a great job blocking, and then he did a great job, running on the reverse. So like you said, that was not possession type stuff. That was big play receiver stuff, and we need to see more of that.
Okay, we'll go two more. Kevin Bowen.
Frank, we haven't asked you about Paris Campbell in a while. Do you still think he's got a chance to play this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. At this point, I think it's too early to tell that. I know he's working really hard. So if there is a chance, I know that Paris is the kind of guy that will do everything possible to give himself that chance, but I think it's still too early to tell that.
And Jim Aiello, last one.
Yeah, Frank, I could be wrong, but somebody had suggested that maybe with not as many fans in the stands this year, that watching game film, you guys may be able to hear, and Philip in particular hear defensive calls while you're watching that from other teams. Are you guys, I know you probably won't give away much on that, but are you able to pick up anything when you watch more than in the past, just because you can hear more?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt every team, you're exactly right, Jim. Every team is doing that. That's very true. Everybody's watching all the TV copies, right? That's where they get all the information. So, and that's been going on for years, but you're able to hear more this year than you've ever heard before. So yeah, we have people, just like everybody has people, that watch TV copies and chart everything that we see and hear.
I was wondering, is that more of an advantage with a guy like Philip who can process that information, I guess, faster and maybe make adjustments at the line, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100%. And Philip's really good at that. And like you said, I mean, I can't give you specific examples, but I can tell you there are many specific examples that I could give you, because he's really good at it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.